Welcome to the Abyss, where my brain slowly dies in an attempt to entertain people. Today's video is the start of a new series where I talk about champion concepts for a MOBA game that I thought of in high school when I wanted to go into game design for Riot. And so instead of talking about the very first design, let's start from design number 89, Decaar the Glitch. Decaar is a melee physical damage fighter who specializes in team fighting. He's hypermobile and defensive but doesn't pack a major punch unless in his ult with his teammates. His passive is Glitch Out. Every so often he will become invulnerable and untargetable for a second. The frequency increases with level. His Q is Your Glitch. In a cone, he damages enemies and glitches them to his location, dealing more damage per glitched enemies. Glitch is a status effect that causes enemy positions to change, but they aren't interrupted and continue their previous action. His W is Glitchy Projection. He blinks to a target location and leaves behind a projection that deals damage every 0.5 seconds for 3 seconds, dealing increased damage for every enemy in the AoE. Destroyers, aka champions, gain the most damage. Minions are taunted to the projection, can reactivate to blink back and gain resistance for each instance of damage, but the projection ends. His E is Glitch Floor. He ports to a location a set distance away and creates portals at the start and end locations. Enemies that walk over a portal are ported to the other to be damaged and stunned once. He will port back to the first portal after 0.5 seconds. The difference between a port and a blink is that a blink is instant while a port is animation locked. His ult is Glitch Zone. He glitches out the world around him for 10 seconds. While inside, his passive triggers twice as often. He blinks to his target movement location or auto attack target as long as they are in the zone, and enemies take 1% of their max HP as chaos, aka true damage, every time they are damaged, with reduced effectiveness for damage over time. So that's his kit, and numbers don't really matter as they can always change. Now let's get into his lore. Decaar doesn't remember his name, but he does remember what happened to him. He was once a student at the Piltover Academy, attempting to become a great scientist who shows that mechanics are greater than magic. But Jason Victor's Hextech became far too much for his dream to continue. His ideals, created from the admiration of Professor Heimerdinger, caused him resentment towards Hextech, but he pushed on through the years. However, when Hextech was refined, there were those who sought to use the magical capabilities for darker, power-hungry means. Decaar discovered that there were some who sought to use the Hextech to create phylacteries in order to store their souls while maintaining and controlling their body. Decaar attempted to convince them to turn away from this inquiry, but they turned on him while his guard was down, and used him as a test subject. The tests were successful in only one way. His soul was placed inside a crystal, but his body disintegrated. The scientists responsible gave up at the sight, their self-preservation overtaking their curiosity. They weren't done with Decaar, however. They decided to punish him by using the crystal to power a new machine for kids called an arcade machine. He was trapped for years, and yet was able to see the children and young adults who played the game he powered. He watched them with anger. This anger and vitriol built up within him over the years as his thoughts surged and twisted. At first, he only harbored these feelings for those responsible for his fate, but it shifted towards Jason Victor, and soon all of Piltover was complicit in his torture. He couldn't separate one from another. He would not have to remain in this state forever. He was no normal man in life. He was a mage. His arcane powers allowed him to manipulate time, but he never allowed himself to use them. Now, in this state of purgatory, his power overwhelmed him and began to mix with the magic of the Hextech. The combination became too much for the crystal to contain, and the magic exploded to release Decaar from his prison. His first action was to kill any Piltovian he came across. His rampage lasted for weeks, and his power teleported him across Runeterra. Eventually, his powers settled to a point where he regained control as well as his body, but he still glitched out every now and then. But with control, he could focus on a goal: ending Hextech and those who uphold its power. Here are some voice lines he could have.
I can't remember who I am, but I only need to remember why I've become this. Piltover must fall before the world shares my fate. You toy with time, Echo. I am the end result. Jace, your work will only bring ruin. You are from Zahn. I understand your pain, Professor. We should have listened to you.
Sorry there's no concept art I can show, cause I suck at drawing. So that's Decaar. If you enjoyed, awesome. And if you didn't, well, why are you still watching? Got any ideas you want to add or general thoughts? I'm more than willing to hear them.